Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great week. Dr. Allen here. It's this week's overview. But before we kind of jump in, I wanted to just say a few things. I didn't think I said this last week, but if I didn't, again, with the discussion boards, thank you all very much for kind of bearing with those. But I feel terrible that the bookstore got a different edition of the books, which kind of threw. I think it just doesn't align. It sounds like most people have adapted, but I do feel bad about that. If there is a discussion again that you need to I'm leaving the discussion boards open the entire time, just in case. We're almost done the discussions. We have four, and the discussions that have been posted have been wonderful. So I think everyone's adapting, but still, I feel like that issue is definitely on our end. I mean, it's non-debatable. So just let me know if there's any type of reading with the chapters that you can't figure out. But I'm not really putting a due date on the discussions until like that final week of our class. So if you need a little more time to get those done, that's fine. So with that being said, again, this is just an apology, and definitely will work with you because that's like on our end. Um, it's the right book, but it just I wish they would have told me they were going to get that. And I think some people who got it through Amazon had no problems, but it was just the bookstore just got a different one. So with that being said, thanks for those of you who've touched base with me on that. And let's just go ahead and jump into the week. Again, I'm just going to do an overview this week. I hope the lectures have been working pretty well. It seems like the discussions have been really good. So I'm hoping maybe things have been connecting. And this week is actually, I think, a little bit of a laid back week in terms of there's no discussion due this week. There's only one assignment. I will also make this statement. I'm recording this on Saturday afternoon on the 13th. Tomorrow, the curriculum maps are due. I'll probably have this open before the end of the day tomorrow, so it's a little overlap. But if you do watch this, don't forget the curriculum mapping exercises are due tomorrow on the 14th. The ones that have been submitted have been really good, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll be checking email Sunday just to make sure every once in a while, try to answer any questions. And I think that is it. So, okay. Let's go ahead and jump in here. I've not actually opened this yet, but that's why, hence the I with the cross there through it. But everything should be organized as I've been trying to do each week. The lecture for this week is up. The lecture actually gets into global educational systems. It's actually, again, it's based on the PowerPoint, which is down in PowerPoints and podcast or podcast and PowerPoint. But I will say it's very interesting what it talks about. It talks Singapore and Finland come up a lot because they're usually seen as some of the stronger education systems, and of course, a lot of the countries that we will refer to as third world are usually on the lower end. The U.S., I don't think this is anything that's groundbreaking. It's you usually test pretty solid in reading, but our math and science scores are not always in the I guess tier one, so to speak. So it does talk a little bit about that, and it gets into it. I think the video is about 6 minutes. The lecture notes are up if you want to check them out, though, in that format, and also podcast and PowerPoints are up. I will make a little note on podcast and PowerPoints. One, I need to add an S to podcast. They are down. They are both right here. Also, I have a video in here called "Are Our Kids Tough Enough?" That's actually a TV show that was on the in the UK about it's probably about 10 years old now. I didn't double check the date, but I'm pretty sure it's 10. They take a group of Chinese teachers and they bring them to a English or a UK public school. It's actually set in England. By the way, I'm doing a study abroad. The Scottish and English systems are a little different, so it's definitely an English school. And the Chinese teachers are teaching the way that they teach their students in China. It's kind of interesting. It does have a little bit of a reality show flair. This is only one episode, but if you find it interesting, you can find the videos on YouTube. So I did put it on there. Also, I was going to say anything else. Oh, there's the PowerPoint if you want to check it out without the lecture, and it's got all the information and the data and things like that. So, um, so feel free to check that out. Also, excuse me. Also, I entitled this an overload of Finnish information. I have a little bit on this. When I did a class, we kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit on the Finnish system. It's a lot of times seen as the in vogue system. I won't say the bloom is off the rose somewhat, but after the pandemic, they went down a little bit. I think Singapore did pass them in some stuff, um, but they still have some pretty cool ideas, and they're starting to come back up. Last time that I was seeing, you probably saw the email that I sent out with the Michael Moore video that came out and documentary where he did something on the Finnish system. If you don't watch anything related to these videos, I would say if well, let me re-say that. If you only watch one of the videos, make it that one. I think it's pretty interesting. And though it again is probably about 10 years old, it really does a nice job of talking about the differences in how the Finns approach education versus how we do it in the US. For example, they start school a little later. Um, they have a little more independence. There's not a whole lot of private schools there, but some of that has to do with the funding in the public schools. Of course, there's taxes that you pay for that. And so there's a lot more higher taxes. So there's just more to it. And, I don't pretend to have any answers on this, but I like to present the information. So there's a lot in here on the Finnish schools. I had a lot, so I just threw it in there. But this is the link. And I think I sent it out again. It's about a 9-minute video, but I would say, if you want to check it out, that's the video I would say to check out if you're going to check out any of the YouTube videos. And last but not least, there was one thing. Oh, the assignment. Again, this is all on international education this week. There's no discussion. They're all open though if you need them. But the assignment this week I entitled Padlet because I was going to ask you to make a Padlet. I don't know how familiar everyone is with Padlets. If you've had 380 or 500, you probably know a little bit about Padlets. I think a couple of you are in 500 and we're going to do Padlets. But what I want you to do is I want you to select a country of your choice. And I want you to create a Padlet and a wall of information. I will have a YouTube video about how to use Padlet, and I'll give you one other caveat here with that in a second. But you're going to create a wall of information. I have a sample down here below, and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. But on the first block, I want you to give a little background of the education in your country that you picked. So, for example, if I picked France, I just need a little bit of background on their system, how they do, how they structure it, how long the students go, just anything. I would say a paragraph or two would be fine. Two, the country's goal as you see it. Like, what do you feel their end game is for education? Like, is it more like to put students into, is it a tracking school where maybe they very early on have them in vocational paths or higher education paths or college paths? And compare it to the Finland and the US, like what do you see are the similarities and what are the differences? Again, paragraph or two. How are teachers trained? And I want you to compare all three countries, Finland, the United States, and the country of your choice. If you watch the video on Finland that I mentioned, the 9-minute one, again, that's down there and is also on the announcement page. They talk about how they train teachers. Teachers have to have a master's in Finland before they can teach. It's kind of held on that same tier as like a doctor or a lawyer or things like that. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I think there is, but also the next one, you need to have equality. Are all citizens provided the same opportunities for education? That's more of an opinion question. Have at it. Again, paragraph or two. And with the Finnish model, as you see fit in watching the video, would it work in the country that you're researching or would it work in the US? And with that video, because I keep saying watch that video if you're going to only watch one, I'll just go ahead and put it in the assignment itself before I release it so you can find it easily. Again, it's on the announcement page and it's also on this overload, but I'll just put it here. Now, if you're not familiar with Padlet, I'm going to click this sample of one that was done in the class prior. You just go to padlet.com. If you have a Google account, you'll be able to do this. And as you can see, you just outline it out, and this is what it'll look like. They did Guyana, which I thought was kind of a unique choice, and I kind of liked that. So they just kind of just talked about all these things, and they put it in there. As you can see, they had some threes and kind of went at it. All you have to do is submit the link, which is right here. You'll just hit share with that, and it should pop up. Copy the link and submit that on a Word document, or you can download it as a PDF there, which some people find easier to do. And also, let me say this, because I don't want to make anyone's life absolutely heck. If you want and you don't want to do the Padlet, I don't want you to sit around for like hours trying to figure out Padlet. Some people jump right into it and get it. You can do a Word document and that's fine. Just make sure you organize it so I can follow along. So make sure you have like information one and do your paragraph. An image is nice, just to kind of make it seem Padlet-like, and then do information to Padlet or document or paragraph. Slap on that. I think you know what I'm saying. As long as your Word document's organized like this, I can live. If you don't want to fight the Padlet, it's more about the content than it is how I get it. The Padlet I just thought was maybe a fun way to do it, and also if you've never worked with it, it's something you can more incorporate with your own students. So that's this week. The only thing it is due is the Padlet. All the information is up here. I'll send out an overview. Lecture is right here. Please check out the lecture. It is pretty interesting in terms of what the data has to say and everything. Again, all for my notes and PowerPoints and things, kind of in a condensed form. Make the asynchronous not so long because I think we could talk about this for like days. So, with all that being said, I hope everyone's doing all awesome. Getting through the semester. We're almost done. Again, apologies for any discussion confusion. They've been great, so I don't think there's been any problems. But not seeing anyone, I kind of but if you need more time on any discussion because the chapters, that seems to be the problem is like where the book I'm using or from the 2010 one, when I see chapter 5, it might be chapter 6. And if you need like a little more time or the information doesn't link up, that's fine. Let me know. Or if I need to change the prompt a little bit for you, I have no problems doing that. With all that being said, only thing due this week is the Padlet. We'll talk a little more about the other discussions as we get closer and the other assignments, curriculum maps. I'm looking forward to checking them out. And that should do it. I hope everyone's having a great week, surviving the semester, and I'll talk to you later. And if you need me, I'm in 114C in Canute. So